I have your #1 realtor in South Florida, and it's Anthony Kulp. So good morning.
Good morning. How you?
I'm great, Anthony. And you really have become famous. When I say something about Anthony Kulp, oh yeah, I know who he is, because I think you add such niceties to your sales approach. And that's very important. A lot of people, when they're dealing with real estate salespeople, it's kind of ho-hum, but you come with so much experience. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, and then you can go on to your real estate licensing.
Well, I've been in real estate for almost 40 years, and started out cleaning up construction sites, and went from that to a framing big custom homes, and then bathrooms, kitchens, and took a break here and there, but always went back to construction and housing. And about 21 years ago, I got my real estate license. And 5 years after that, I got a broker's license and had my own company and 30 agents. That was up in Delaware, in southern Delaware. And about 5 years ago, I moved down to Florida full time. I had a second home here, and it's been great. I have to work really hard. It's very competitive. And I'm mainly work with senior citizens. I'm a senior real estate specialist, and that's my sphere of influence. I do commercial, I do everything, but the majority of my business is condominiums and senior citizens. And when you're selling a house, it can't be real estate all the time. Because first of all, in South Florida, people move here for a lifestyle, and you find out what their lifestyle is, then you find the house or condominium that works for that lifestyle. To just take people around and show them stuff is like looking for a needle in a haystack.
And everybody is looking for something different. It's funny, I have a real estate broker's license. I don't use it anymore, but I will tell you that when you first interview them, they talk about wanting something that eventually they wind up not having that. How do you do that? How do you get them from, oh, I want to be by the beach, and then they get on a golf course, and then they get somewhere else, and then to school? So tell us how that all works.
Well, everybody in the beginning, I want to be by the beach. I want to live by the beach. Well, the beach is expensive. And, they'll say, well, I'm okay with the condominium. And you show them how small the condominiums are up at the beach. And they say, well, I can't live here. So, well, how many times a month do you go to the beach? If it's only a couple times, then you can live 10, 15 minutes from the beach in a larger, less expensive unit, whether it's a condominium or a single family home. So, you have to say, what are you going to do when you live here? You're going to go horseback riding. Let's go down to Dania, where you leave your horses. If you like going to the beach, we'll be closer to the beach. If you like golf, we'll find a golf course community. I mean, there's something for everyone here, but if somebody is not giving me the input, or I'm not asking the right questions, then I'm going to be showing things they don't like, and they'll say, my realtor's no good. He didn't show me what I was looking for.
And once you decide, once you get it out of them, and they like this, or what they're really interested in, then you really act. That's where your construction background comes in, because I think when you go to see, it's not your listings but someone else's, and you look around and you probably don't say anything while you're in the house with them, but when you get out, you say, did you see this? Did you see that? Do you want to have to do this? And that's what makes you very different.
Well, the majority of the homes that are within the first 6 miles of the beach are older homes. And, we've gone through years of people flipping homes, and whether they were professionals, do-it-yourselfers. And you really need to, when you look in that home, if the last 5% doesn't look good, then imagine what it looks like behind the walls. So, and then you want to find out, was it a professional that did it? Did they do it themselves? So you just want to look out for that stuff. And there are times where I've shown places and it looks good, but when you really take a good look at it, I think, don't buy this house. Don't buy this house. And people see it and think, oh my God, it's so beautiful. It has granite tops and it's the cabinets that I like. And blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this place is a mess. They, look at the baseboard, look at the trim, none of it. Look at the paint. Look how bad of a paint job they did. So, but sometimes it's the one they want. So I make sure I get a good home inspector, and the home inspector can point it all out to them.
Right. Well, that's very good. And I know everyone needs to have a home inspector, and they also need to have an attorney, because even you're not an attorney, even though you're smart. And what does an attorney do for them?
Well, the attorney is going to do all the background on the property. You know, have they put on additions without permits? Has there been a lot of work without permits? You know, liens, judgments? And I suggest an attorney. Most title companies are owned by attorneys, but you're not using the attorney, you're using more of a paralegal. Where when you're using an attorney, there's somebody, Ed Robbins, Fort Lauderdale, who I typically use and I recommend, and they do such an outstanding job. Is it a little bit more expensive? Yes, maybe $200 or $300, but it's almost like additional title insurance. You know, when you buy that house, it's, you know, they've done a really good job. Not only that, when you use an attorney, especially like Ed, if something comes up, they usually take care of it before you even know about it. Where a title company is going to turn around and say, well, in order for us to do it, we have to charge you a little bit more, or you have to take care of this. And it's, you know, a few extra $100 really goes a long way.
At the very last moment when they're supposed to be closing, that's when things erupt. If you're not a good broker, or you're not a good attorney, and you allow that to happen, then they don't close on time, right?
You think I'm the intermediary between everybody. So if something goes wrong, it has to come from my lips. So I just had a settlement not too long ago where there was a title company. I didn't hire them. It was the people they chose to use. And the day before settlement, the title company said, oh, we did a search on the property and there's an open permit. It took 3 weeks to close that permit out. Now that title company should have done that 3 weeks prior to. And they didn't do it. They did it last minute. The deal was a little bit of a shaky deal. So they didn't want to spend the money for it. And they waited till the last minute, and all of a sudden there's a permit issue. And it took us 3 additional weeks to close it. And that's
well, under these circumstances, let's move to the problem with people not wanting to be together. First of all, they don't want to walk in a house with people there. And so how are you dealing with the coronavirus now in the real estate days?
Well, I mean, realtors are still working. Realtors are an essential service in Broward and Dade and Palm Beach County. They're allowing us to perform. You know, when you set up, if I'm showing property, you set it up, you try to set them up as far ahead of time as possible so the sellers can say yes or no, whether they want to let you in. A lot of people have rules now, you know, you have to wear a mask, you know, don't touch anything. And if you're somebody who's selling your house, you know, I recommend you touch everything, turn all the lights on, open the closet doors, you know, have hand sanitizer out there. Tell them I want everybody to wear a mask and I want them to use hand sanitizer when they come in. If you're the realtor, you're going to, you know, say, hey, you know, if this was your house, you don't want people coming in and touching things. We're lucky that we're even able to get in. So, and if you're looking at houses, same thing. Don't touch anything. Let the realtor touch it. Let them rest because, you know, we're washing our hands. We're using hand sanitizer all day long now.
Okay, and I know you're not wearing a mask now because you're in your home or in your office and you don't have to do that, nor do I. But I want to pursue this. So if someone has to close and they're up north, you know, there are a lot of closings that don't have to be right there. People don't have to come to the office, right? Why don't you explain how that works?
A lot of realtors' offices and title companies won't let you in. So pretty much everything is done online now. We have e-sign, DocuSign. There's a lot of different programs they have where you can sign it. Now, there are things where we call it, it has to be signed wet, which means you have to sign it with a pen. And we do FedEx. Gets FedExed up, they sign it, they put it in the package, put it back out, and it's FedEx right back down. And again, if you're using the right title company and the right attorney, they're going to do all that way ahead of time. And it's typically the mortgage companies that want the wet documents where you're actually signing it. I'm a notary. It was the best money and time I've ever spent because I'm constantly notarizing applications to condominiums, or I had a settlement in my office that I performed. It was one of the first settlements I did. Luckily, there was no mortgage, so it's a lot less paperwork. But I was able to do that because I'm also a notary.
You brought up a good subject, mortgages. Now, are they easy to get nowadays, or why don't you advise our viewers about mortgages?
Okay, so the best, you're going out looking to buy a property, the first person you have to talk to is a loan officer, because that loan officer can tell you what your buying power is. So if you're looking for a $400,000 home, you want to make sure that that you're qualified for $400,000. And I would recommend to anybody that if you're qualified to buy a $400,000 home, then look for a $350,000 home. Everybody wants to spend more than what they can really afford, and they get upset by it. So, and also you want that buffer. You want that you may move into a home and it needs work, and that's going to be all out of pocket. Condominiums, a lot of condominiums require 25% down, or at least 20% down. So, you're going to need those extra funds to do that. But you have to go and talk to a loan officer first. First thing I'm going to ask you is, have you talked to a loan officer? How much can you afford? How's your debt ratio, stuff like that. And if they don't know.
That's very good advice. And of course, there are cash buyers, and I'm sure they get better deals.
Well, you know what? Everybody walks away with the check or money's wired. So if you're selling your home and somebody submits an offer, you want to ask them what kind of financing are you getting. You want to see a pre-approval, and typically a commitment letter, which means the bank is committed to giving the buyer the loan, is 30 days. And I just had a deal where I said, okay, we're going to do this. We just put the property on the market. You're the first one, you're the first one who's buying it out of the second showing. But we don't want to wait 30 days to make sure you can afford this property. So we tightened it up 20 days. And with these buyers, I knew they could do it because I just had the feeling, doing this for so long, you can tell when somebody walks in whether they can really afford it, or not all the time, but they were older and they seemed pretty well to do. So I didn't think it was going to be a problem. And they did. They got it in 10 days.
Well, I want everyone to know our guest is Anthony Kulp. And of course, we used to say pencil talk radio. Now it's TV talk radio. It's Zoomer talk radio. So get your pencils out, because we're going to give you his phone number. All right? It's 954-815-9048. We'll do that again. 954-815-9048. That's Anthony Kulp, K-U-L-P. And he's located in Broward County, but he will go anywhere in the state of Florida if it's. Oh yeah, that's good. Oh, he's so prepared. I love that. That's good. That's right. And if you read Boomer Times, and I'm sure you do, you'll see he writes an article every month, and they're very interesting. They're different. He has part of the article shows one of his listings, something he wants you to see, but the other one is it's not always about real estate. I remember when we first met, we talked about having pets, and a lot of people don't want pets, and yet, they don't want you to come in with a pet, but you have a pet. And Anthony knows how to deal with that. So he wrote a whole article about that. Let's see, you've also written about, just what we're talking about now, but you also wrote about when the coronavirus came in, how to deal with it, and what you should do, what you shouldn't do. You're very versatile.
Yeah. Remember the magazine, the article was written 30 days before the magazine came out. So a lot of the stuff we had in the magazine was current. And some of the things people said, oh, of course, I've been talking about that for, a week on the radio or on television.
Right.
We had to brainstorm this a month before this ad came out. And
yeah, but you're pretty swift. You can think about a lot of things about what's really good. And the other thing to talk about, I think, is when people are trying to sell their home and then they want to buy another home. And that's a little tricky. How do you work that out?
Well, I mostly deal with senior citizens, and they're lucky they have the assets to be able to purchase the second home before they're settled. So they're not in that bind. And the older you get, the harder it is to move. You have either more stuff, or it's just, it's physically difficult to pack and move. But for younger people, though, it has to be very carefully planned. And, you have to plan both settlements on the same day and see if you can get people in to pre-sign. And, you know, and God forbid if something should happen and the purchase gets delayed, you know, they're looking for hotel rooms to stay in. And so in a situation like that, like I had in the article last month, you know, pack an overnight bag for 2 or 3 days, you know, just in case. Plan, if you have small children, have somewhere for them to go while you're moving, somewhere comfortable for them. Same with pets. You know, you don't want to be worrying about walking the dog halfway through packing, or the dog's in a hot car or something like that. So find a place that's comfortable for them to hang out while you're moving. And, you know, pack that overnight bag or something for a couple of days, just in case one of the settlements gets delayed. Because if the sale of your property gets delayed, so does your purchase. And
You're right. And I always thought, isn't it okay to delay the closing? Just, you know, that, why do you have to set it the same day as you're moving? Can't you give it a week or so with room?
you have the ability to do it, but you have to live for somewhere for a week. And that can be very expensive for, you know, a lot of people.
But can't you do that with the home you're selling? Just delay the closing a week?
If I was representing the seller and they were, if I was representing the buyer and they were buying a home and the seller wanted to stay in the home after settlement, I would discourage it.
Why?
What anything could happen after the settlement, you know? They could, when they finally go to move their furniture, they could put holes in the walls. There could, you know, it's just a liability, and you know, you're putting yourself in harm's way. But you know, if all the agents are doing their jobs, the title company's doing their job, everything can be scheduled, and it'll work out. Just everybody has to do their job a little earlier, so if there is a problem, it's taken care of, you know, before the settlement, and it's aware. You know, we have that buffer to be able to do it.
Do you ever handle houses that are you rent and then with an option to buy?
I do. I used to do it a lot after 2008. About 2008 through 2015, I probably do 2 or 3 a year. Rent to own is not great for the seller. It puts all the ball is in the buyer's court. So you could tie your home up for 2 years, and at the end, the buyer could say, "I found a better house. I'm going to go buy this other house instead." The best way to do it for the seller is to do a lease purchase, and you write up. It's kind of a sale with a delayed settlement. So you write up the sales contract, and you say, "Okay, you have to settle within 24 months. In the meantime, you're going to pay me your rent. In addition to the rent, you're going to give me additional money. Plus, when you write the contract, you're going to put down a deposit. So you're going to pay me the rent, you're going to pay additional money, and you're going to maintain the home. If you walk away, I get to keep all of it." So that, you know they're going to be there after 2 years.
So that's called lease option.
Yeah, with a lease with an option to buy, or it's a purchase with delayed settlement, and you know, you're leasing the property from the seller.
Yeah. And yeah, you have to.
State of Florida, have an attorney write that agreement.
I was just going to say that. That's when you really do need to have that done. And you, as the broker, though, you're smart enough to say, "Well, I don't think about this. You ought to think about this other," right? Anthony Kulp is my viewer, my guest. We're all viewing him. Anthony Kulp. He is the zoomertimes TV star right now, and his phone number is 954-815-9048. You can call him, even if you just want to talk about some ideas that you have. You may not be ready, but you can talk to him because he knows a lot of things, and you know, it's funny. Sometimes you're looking for a particular property and there aren't any like that around. But if you let Anthony know, "Well, I want this, I want that, I have my mother-in-law's coming, I need a house that has a separate, you know, place, maybe not the garage, but a granny flat or something," he'll put it down in his mind somewhere, and when it comes up, he'll call you. Have you ever had that happen?
Absolutely. A lot of people I work with for months before we even go out and look at property, because I have a program that will automatically send you what you're looking for, and it gives you an idea of what's happening in the market, so you can see what price something is coming on the market for, and you can see what it sold for. And it also, one of the most disturbing things for people is to have an expectation and then learn that your expectation was way off. And the best way to really get your expectations in check is to see what's going on in the market. A lot of people will come down from up north and not have already spoken to a realtor who was sending them stuff or in this program. And they're going to come down and think, oh, well, I can buy a place right on the beach for $250,000 and it's going to be 3 bedrooms, 2
You're
bathrooms,
right.
underground cooking and all this stuff. And they get down and they see you can't buy an efficiency for 200. So, and also like we spoke about earlier, you know, someone, one of the questions I ask people is, do you entertain? Do you like to have people over for dinner? Do you do Thanksgiving? Do the kids or grandkids come down for Christmas? And if that's the case, then you may need a bigger place. And some people who might not have the funds for that, I'll say, well, how much do they come down? Do they come down once or twice a year? Let's find a hotel that's close by that you can put them in a hotel. A lot of guests would rather prefer that, to stay somewhere where they can get up when they get up, you know, on their own time and being to walk around freely, and maybe like some of the amenities that a hotel has that your condominium or your home doesn't. And that would be a lot less than trying to carry a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath condo that you're paying additional taxes, you're paying additional condo fees, additional maintenance and cleaning, and, you know, all the other stuff that goes with it.
Right, for that 1 bedroom that's not used very much, right? Yeah, or you might find, Anthony, someone come in and you don't want them there and you have this extra room.
I built my first house. I lived at the beach in Delaware. My family lived in Pennsylvania, 2 hours away. We built this huge house, 2nd floor, had 2 master suites and a upstairs living room and then a hobby room, and downstairs had a master, another bedroom with the bathroom right outside the door and a half. It's this monstrous house. And we figure when our family comes, they're going to be comfortable and everything is great. We had about 5 visitors in the 5 years we owned the house.
Oh my.
Cooling this big house. And, you know, and I said to my family, why don't you come down? They said, oh, well, every time we come down, you're working. We don't want to bother you. And they just
Right, so you sold it. That's right. After that, you realized that was a lot of money. There's something else that goes on. It's called staging. And staging is pretty important because everyone loves their home. They think it's perfect, right? And then you know that when people walk in, that's not what they're going to see. So how do you handle? First, tell everybody what staging is.
Well, staging is usually done for a home that's vacant. And sometimes rooms are an awkward size, or you know, a lot of people just don't have the imagination of where their furniture is going to go inside the room. So you hire a company that brings furniture in, put some artwork on the wall, and it's minimal. And they will stage a room so you can get an idea where the couch goes, where a chair goes. And you know, the hardest part is when somebody's living there and they're asking them to take down all their personal photos, thin out their closets, you know. And we usually say you're going to be packing anyway, so what's the difference if you just pack up a few things so that people are looking at the space and not looking at your family photos.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, Anthony, it's really wonderful to have you on our show like this. You know, you've been on for quite a few years now, and I always had you at the radio station, and I got to see you, but nobody else did until it went on YouTube or Facebook, and it just wasn't the same. Now it's live in color, right?
Yeah.
This is great. You look terrific, and you have a suit on, I suppose, but some people, you know, have a jacket on the top, and then they have their underwear in the bottom, so we don't want you to stand up.
I had shorts on. I was
right.
at the beach this morning, so I was
Oh,
wearing.
you did. Yeah, well, you're good. Okay, well, yeah.
Truth in advertising.
You always look good. That's true. Well, thank you so much, Anthony, for being with us. And I want everyone to know again, it's 954-815-9048. And you really can go to their website, Anthony. Well, this is his, not his website. It's his email, anthony@realestatesofl.com. But if you're interested, actually property management, we can talk about that. Maybe another time we'll talk about that. So when you're not here, you can hire Anthony and his staff to watch over all your stuff.
Yeah, even if you have questions. The radio show, and you know, this, I get a lot of people who call just with questions. You know, what can I do? Can I do this? Can I do that? And I get a lot of sad stories too. And it's
well, you're just you're an upbeat person, and thank you for being with us, and enjoy your month until I talk to you again.
I'll see you. Thank you very
All right.
much.
Bye, Anthony.
Bye-bye.